Welcome to the Dan and Alan Review Stuff Show. I am one of your hosts, Dan Burke. And as always, I have the special privilege to be joined by my co-host, Alan Freeman. Forced by a judge to do community service, the infamous musician Tommy Lee, now 60 years old, has been scheduled to appear on the Dan and Alan Review Stuff show over a dozen times, but has failed to show up each and every time. That is until today. In order to keep broadcasting in the West, Dan and Alan are forced to do community-positive programming every month for 5 minutes. And so, this is the interview no one wanted. Alan, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Well, that's wonderful to hear. Folks, I am in the new studio. Alan, I'm showing Alan all the cool new stuff. What do you think? Alan, I'm spinning the camera so Alan can see everything, folks. What do you think, Alan?
Dan, it looks great. You fixed up all the damage from last show. That mini bar, that's amazing. The new desk, cool.
I know. The place, it was a mess. That freaking Batman, the furniture was full of glass. But now, Alan, there was a car pulling up outside the window. Someone is getting out. I will have to call you back.
Wait, don't hang up.
Folks, I think someone is coming in the studio doors. It is Tommy Lee, the drummer.
I'm here, so let's do this, you old bag of dirt.
Tommy Lee, I just bought that lamp.
Stop whining, old man. So I broke your tchotchke. Get over it. What a dump.
Are you going to pay for that?
Do I look broke? Money is no object, dude. Motley Crue sold more than 100 million albums worldwide. I think I'll buy this place and use it as an ashtray.
Hey, you can't smoke and drink in here.
Do you want me to break off my boot in your asshole, man? Zip it, you cracker. Just get this done, okay?
Okay. Please, just sit down, please. I will ask you some questions. Is that okay?
Okay, Dean, ask away.
I am Dan, Tommy.
Whatever, Dean. Dumb pumpkin-faced geezer.
Don't touch that. Be careful.
Oh, I won't.
My mother gave me that. You broke it.
Oh, please. Your mother is so dumb. She sold her car for gas money. What's your first question? Ask me something.
Do you have any projects going on right now, Tommy?
I do. Stopping by your mother's house and having her wax my Johnson surfboard.
My mother is not that kind of person.
Actually, she is several times. Your mother's legs and ass are more hairy than Bigfoot.
Tommy, please, let's try to get back on track. Here is a simple question. What was it like playing for Metallica?
Are you yanking my chain, man? Metallica? They suck, man. You trying to make fun of me, Granddad? You think you're a funny man, huh, Dean?
Stop! Wait! I just had this place fixed. Please stop! I didn't mean to upset you, Tommy. Tommy, stop!
Upset? You think I'm upset? Is that what you think? Not as upset as you'll be once I torch this dump.
Ah! Wait, don't! I just got that! Stop! Please!
I'm out of here, man. Your 2-bit YouTube show blows chunks.
He trashed the place. My new desk, the carpet, it's all destroyed. Hello?
Wow, I saw the whole thing on camera till it went black. He really didn't like you. Your studio's wrecked again? We keep going, Dean?
I guess we should continue the show. Okay, folks, our first topic today is Lucy, the movie, directed by Luc Besson. Its release date was July 25th, 2014, starring the gorgeous Scarlett Johansson, the much freckled Morgan Freeman, and it made $163.4 million at the box office. It's the story about a girl who is tricked into delivering drugs to a very dangerous drug dealer, and he puts the drugs inside her in order to use her as a mule to cross over into a different country. The bag of drugs bursts open inside her and causes her to go through a transformation where she becomes, her brain begins turning on. I guess evidently we only use 10% of our brain. Some use less. And but in this movie, she uses 20, 30, then 40, then 50% of her brain, and more adventures ensue as she becomes more powerful throughout the movie. Alan, how would you frame this one?
Yes, she becomes sort of a superhero in a way, with powers, sort of like superhero powers over people. She can control other people and things, it seems. They try to explain it all with Morgan Freeman doing his lecture. But, yes, I thought it was very fun. It was just fun. If you stop and analyze it, a lot of it doesn't make sense, and it's not based on true facts as far as the brain.
Right.
But anyway, it was a lot of fun, and they kept the tension going. You know, she's trying to, especially when they were trying to stop her from doing her mission, you know, what she had planned to do in the laboratory and all that.
I really like this movie. I thought that this movie is a testament to star power, charisma. I think we may have dropped another person in the starring role. We would not have made $400 million. I think Scarlett Johansson's great in the part. Luc Besson, he edits this thing tight. There is nothing wasted here. We just go one thing to the next, one thing to the next. It's a lot of fun to watch, like just you said. And it's interesting to see how her powers change her, how she deals with them. And she is being pursued in this film, folks, by a ruthless band of, what would you call them, Korean gangsters?
Yeah, they're like a mob, their own mob group in the high rise.
Very sadistic, and they establish that right up front. When we meet the mob boss, he's just got done killing a couple guys, evidently. That's what he does for lunch, for kicks. So that's crazy. Yeah. So tell me some more about what you thought about the film.
Yeah, I thought it had a lot of good action sequences with her fighting, and I loved all the special effects. And to me, it looks like, doesn't this predate Spawn? I think it did, because this was like 2011 when it came out.
This is a 2014 film. Yeah.
Oh, 14? I think it still predated Spawn, right? Because it has the same exact effect of the where she's taking over the computers, and it looks exactly like Spawn's special effect, you know, when he's coming together with his suit and everything. But I agree. Really like the ending, too. I like the ending and everything.
Me, too. I loved how that was resolved. I thought that was pretty cool. You know, it only got a 67% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it looks like 81% of the people who actually watched the movie liked it. So who knows what that means?
Well, I liked it a lot more before. I watched a couple other reviewers, and one had 140 problems with the movie. And when I saw that, and you stop and analyze a lot of the stuff, then you're like, oh, no, you know. But watching it the first time, you're just like a popcorn thriller, you know, action film, and you just absorbed in the action, you know, and you're not analyzing it. And that's fun.
How would you compare it to a movie like The Protégé?
With following her, I'd rather follow her. Well, I don't know. The other girl was pretty good too, but I was just more enthralled with the whole concept of Scarlett Johansson doing all this stuff, I guess.
I think what was interesting about this is we're going on a really fun sci-fi journey with her through this thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And we really want to know what happens next. We haven't seen this before. What you said about the protege in your review is 100% true. Every single scene in the protege we'd seen before, some other movie, and they just grafted it on. You know, the curtain down the wall, the whole thing. Everything was something we've seen 100 times before.
Now, you know that Bradley Cooper movie where he has to take a pill and it makes him smart? I just
Limitless,
thought of that.
yes. Yeah,
Oh,
Limitless.
that's similar to this. Yeah.
It is similar to that. That's a pretty good movie. I enjoyed Limitless quite a bit. It has a lot to do with his charm again. You know, casting the right movie star. It's interesting to see his journey. I liked Limitless quite a bit, as a matter of fact.
Yes, I did too. Wasn't it pretty horrifying when she was on the plane and she starts to dissolve to dust because it's wearing off? Yeah, that was crazy.
Yes, you don't know what the hell's going to happen. Yeah, the plot point. Let me tell you something. First off, if you have drugs in your body like that, you're dead in 5 minutes. But set that aside for a second. She needs more of the deadly drug in order to survive. That was a kind of a silly plot point, to be honest. But so they hook up 4 bags of that crap to her and jack her full of it. That was crazy, man.
Oh my God, I couldn't believe that.
And the stuff looks a lot like Drano, so it was very scary.
I like how none of it's been tested before that they know of, but she seems to know that I can take all of that. Well, she got smart.
And why is it
supposedly smart by then, right?
And why doesn't it work on other people then? Shouldn't other people be, sniffing that stuff or whatever they do with it and having some kind of breakthrough?
I have to admit, one of the reviewers that I watched, that was one of the points they made, was that when the guy had the 2 bags and they pulled it out of one of the guys and he put 2 or 3 of those bags of the chemical in that suitcase and shut it, and the guy, a reviewer, said, wouldn't he want to just take that for himself? And just take a little sniff right now. And
yeah. So I think if we break this down further, it's just like any other film. We may destroy it, but I'm going to give this a solid 8 because it was very entertaining.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'd give it an 8.
We have an exciting topic for our next topic, folks. A movie that is coming out of the past like a meteorite into a lake, and that, or perhaps into a desert, and that is the Sands of Kalahari. Alan, I'd like you to frame the Sands of Kalahari for me.
Okay, it's like 6 people are trying to get on this flight out of Africa area. And their plane is stalled until the next day. And then during that night, at this hotel they put them up in, it's like 6 guys and a girl. And they come along and go, hey, we've got this private plane we could take right now if you want, but we got to have one more person to make the cost, equal low enough to do it. And so she said, yes, I'll go. And then she's on the plane with these guys. And then they are flying along. Everything's fine. They're over the desert of the Kalahari. And they hit a huge swarm of locusts, and it's just a big black cloud of locusts, and it fills their windshield. And then the engines go out and they land, and it looks like they're landing okay in the desert. It's just flat, mostly. But then the plane starts catching on fire and breaking apart, and I think one pilot didn't make it, but the rest of them all got out, and now they're in the middle of freaking nowhere. And then they realize there's baboons up on these hills looking down at them, and they keep showing the baboons with the big teeth and everything, and you're like, oh my God, and so it looks pretty bad. And then it's just a matter of who's going to survive and how are they going to get out of this desert.
Very well framed. For those who have never heard of the Sands of the Kalahari, this is a pretty straightforward adventure film for the time it was made. And, in other words, there's nothing tongue-in-cheek here. This is a serious film. It was released in 1965, directed by Cy Enfield, starring Stuart Whitman, Stanley Baker, and Susanna York. I've heard of Susanna York.
Yes.
It's based on a novel by William Mulvihill. Now, when you saw, I want to bring something up. You saw this movie as a child, right?
I was like 9, I think. Yeah.
And it scared the living daylights out of you, right?
Yes. I think I saw it at the drive-in, and I might have had my eyes shut through the middle part because I mostly remember the beginning and the end with the baboons, and that's where they mostly take place in the film. But yeah.
And the baboons are scary as hell, right?
Yes. Yes, and it doesn't end well for one of them with the baboons, you know.
So tell me some more about the movie. What happened?
Well, actually, first of all, I just rewatched the movie recently, and I would not recommend it to anyone. That's my first, and I'd give it like a 1. And mainly, it's the middle. The beginning's all exciting, and they crash, and what are they going to do? And they're trying to make all these decisions, and they figure out ways to put water. They find water, which was a miracle, and then they put it in these ostrich eggs, and it turns out that's the way the the African people that live in that area do the same thing. So anyway, they figure all this out, and then one guy is taking charge, and that's Stuart Whitman is the actor, and he takes charge of everything, and he's like the Burt Reynolds of Deliverance. He's the one guy that has all this hunting experience, and but as time goes on, you start to see that he's kind of a shithead. He's kind of an asshole. And he just wants to survive on his own. He doesn't really care about anyone else. That's what you eventually find out. So he's not the big hero that it makes it look, that's the big twist in the movie.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
What happens to the girl?
Well, that's an interesting story because 1965 evidently was not, some movies were just starting to get into the women power and all that, right? Like Jane Fonda kind of things, women with power. Well, this was not one of those movies at all. And she's just wimpy and crying, and she just kind of latches on to Stuart Whitman's character because he's like in charge, and he looks like the only one that's probably going to live through this. So she's like latches on to him, but he treats her like shit right off the bat. It's just so bizarre. It's worth watching just for how he treats her and how she acts, because that is when the movie just kind of goes off the map for me. It was like, what am I watching? Anyway, she just kind of rolls around, and a couple of times she's just resting, but she's laying in the sun, and I thought, is she really that stupid? I mean, would you be at the desert and you're just laying in the sun? What is she getting, a suntan? I don't know.
Well, you got a tan. You know that.
She's an idiot. Well, at one point, they put the crazy guy, the guys that are left anyway, because he had killed one guy anyway, and sent another one out into the desert to supposedly die. And then they found out all this, and so they put him in a big pit, because it used to be a diamond mine area, and that leads to a couple of surprises also. But they were mining for diamonds in this area, so there's this big trench, and they put him down in there so he can't climb out, because they don't know what to do with this guy, right? And so there's a ladder, a homemade-looking ladder that was being used, and she walks over, and she's split because she knows he's kind of a killer, but she also knows he could be the one that could save her, so he's yelling for help, and she's like, I don't know how to help you. And he's like, there's a fucking ladder right there. Put it down the hole. And I'm like, she's such a moron. So sad. How dumb she had to be, for this movie. Oh, jeez. But no one's going to watch this, right? So I can tell you what happened.
No one's going to watch it.
No, I hope not. Anyway, they only show the baboons at the beginning because they're like a threat. It's like the White Walkers. It's like a threat that never really sort of comes around. But they're showing them, and they keep watching, and he has a rifle, and he's shooting just to scare him off. Well, one night this is when he first turns into an asshole, and he goes out on his own, and he just kills as many of those baboons as he can. He's just shooting them left and right for no reason, because they're not attacking. They stay up in the hills, right? And then I thought, that's going to piss those baboons off, right? Well, it took a long time before it happened, because the whole middle of the movie is just, well, we're going to be here dying and starving, and you go get help, and then you go get help. And the only surprise is, and there's only two coming up, and that's where one of those guys, he looks like the least likely person to send out. He's overweight, and he doesn't want to go. And the guy forces him to, the Stuart Whitman, forces him to take off and find help. And he's like, I don't even know what direction to go in, So he's wandering into the desert. It looks like he's going to die. But he does. Well, there's two guys that do this. And the first one actually makes it to water. He climbs up over this hill, and it's like the ocean. And I'm like, really? Because there's nothing green anywhere. Anyway, he finds this ocean, and he's like all happy, and he's all tattered and torn up, because he's been going 300 miles or something. And so these guys pull up in a Jeep, and they look like Army guys. It turns out they work with the diamond mine. And they thought, and there's signs saying warning, but he didn't see them. And they're saying you could be shot if you're in this area, because they're afraid people are going to try to steal diamonds. Like, they're just laying out in the open? I don't know. How do you just walk out and pick them up? I don't. It's so stupid. Anyway, they don't treat him like he's in trouble. They go, hey, you shouldn't be here, and they knock him down, and they're beating him up, and he's trying to explain, I walked 300 miles. They're like, bullshit, we don't believe you. And I'm like, just look at him. Just look at him. Does he look like he's here stealing diamonds? I mean, he's almost dead. But anyway, I'll jump to the end, okay? And there's the girl and the one guy that is like the only one that turned out. He had hurt himself in the crash, but eventually recovers. And then he's the only one that's really making sense in the whole freaking movie. He's the only one, and he's left with her, and they had put the guy down in the hole, right? Well, then there was a big rainstorm, of course, and it fills up the hole. That's a lot of rain, right? Anyway.
That's a lot of rain.
Enough for him to get out, of course. And so he's hiding away from them, and then this helicopter comes down, and it's the mining people. So you just assume that the guy eventually talked sense to those idiots that were beating him up, for stealing diamonds. And so they must have figured it out, and then they brought a helicopter down, and then the girl and the guy are still yelling, hey, come down, they're going to take us. And he wouldn't come down because they knew he'd killed somebody. And he tried to kill the other guy, too, the one that was yelling for him to come on down. He even tried to shoot him. So, anyway, he was insane anyway, and he just stayed up in the hills. And then the helicopter's like, well, we're going to leave now, bye. And so he just fly off and leave him there. And then it shows him, like, time going by. This is all in the last 2 minutes of the movie. And then he's got a beard, like he's been living out there. And then all of a sudden he's out in the open, and he's walked away from his gun for a minute. And then the baboons come, and the camera pulls back at the end, and the baboons surround him. He's done for.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
the baboons. Oh, he fought the baboons. Yeah. They finally made it into the movie at the end, very last 2 seconds, and then he shows him wrestling them, and they're biting him on the shoulder, and that was pretty serious. Yeah.
I don't remember much of Sands of the Kalahari because I think I was 4, maybe 3, and it was a surprise. Yeah, it was a surprising failure at the box office. I know you're surprised.
Well, not after I saw it again, and then I saw there was really nothing going on in the whole middle of the movie, really.
Just them wandering through the desert.
Yes, a lot of that.
Thank you for that review, though. I think that was really a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
Our next movie is the 2011 movie by Joe Wright, director, starring Eric Bana, Kate Blanchett, and Cesario Ronan. And, of course, speaking of the film Hanna, which is like a secret agent sort of adventure film. A girl is raised by her father, who is an assassin. He raises her to be an assassin. And at some point, the organization that had genetically engineered Hanna, evidently, comes to claim their property, and they have to battle both Eric Bana at times and Hanna herself. And Kate Blanchett is the villain in this one. She's a great villain. Alan, frame this up for what did you think of it, and how do you frame it up?
Yeah, she's being trained, and she looks like she's, 17, 18? I don't know. She looks pretty young, younger than she is, maybe, in the movie. And he's training her to survive and fight and live on the land and all this stuff. But they don't have any electricity, and they don't have TVs or phones or anything like that. So she's kind of getting secondhand knowledge on a lot of this stuff. She's never really seen it. But anyway, then he digs up this transponder, and he says to her, whenever you're ready to leave here, and this lady is never going to give up. She's going to keep going until she kills us both or we kill her. So you hit this transponder, and she's going to know where we are. And so eventually she does, and she hits the switch. And then he goes on the run quick, and he's like, we'll meet up in Berlin, I think it was, right? And then so they come after her, and she keeps getting away. And it's a big, long, chase for a lot of the movie where she's barely getting out at the right time. And I thought that one interesting thing for me was the use of this Grimm's fairy tale building. It looked like fake snow and all this stuff. That was pretty cool. And the way she was jumping on swans, it's like she's in Alice in Wonderland, kind of a thing. I think this movie had a lot to do with that, right? Where it's giving you that impression that it's following along. And she's like the evil queen or something, like the red queen in Alice in Wonderland, sort of. But she did a really good job tracking, and she's like got this undercurrent of evil, but she is actually shooting people too. So, but she's real creepy.
I think you did a great evaluation of it, and you know how you look at a movie and you say, like, wait a minute, that, because I do a lot of that wait a minute, Mm-hmm. If they had just not turned on that damn transponder and left it buried, they may have gone 10, 15 years unmolested by the secret agency that wanted to kill them.
I was going to ask you about that. It's like, we want trouble, hit that switch.
It's like going into a bad neighborhood and start dancing with money. It's crazy. Anyway, so
I have a theory. He wanted, the father knew that Kate Blanchett's character had killed his wife, right? And was after him. He wanted revenge. I think he trained the daughter just to go eventually kill Kate Blanchett's character. And that's his reasoning.
I think you may have hit the nail on the head there. I think you're 100% right. And I still would have waited her to be a little bit older, though, when she could actually, cross into countries with a passport as an adult and stuff. She's a huge disadvantage being a child on the run.
Well, he figured as long as she could drag a reindeer with a sled, that she was probably ready, I guess.
I think you have a great analogy for the film, though, the Alice in Wonderland. She grows up in the woods, and there's no one there, and it's kind of maybe a bland view of life. Hold on, let me go on. And maybe a bland view of life. And then she gets to go to the city and all these different locations, which it's like bringing a person who lived in the woods all their life out to society. It would be mind-blowing. It would be like, whoa, look at this, So I think that you are 100% dead on with that.
Well, what I was going to say is it's also Hansel and Gretel, because she's being chased to the woods like they were, and the evil witch, and they kept talking about witch during the movie. They'd say these notes they were holding up and stuff saying the witch is coming or something. And then when the way she walks out of that wolf's mouth, it looked like an abandoned kid's Disneyland sort of place, with a train track.
Yes.
And they're on that little train track, and then Kate Blanchett's character walks out of that mouth of the wolf, and there you are with the big bad wolf analogy and all that stuff. Yeah.
Wow, Alan, you're really good at this. You're right. That's if you think about it, that's exactly what this is. It's like a modern fairy tale with secret agents, guns, and everything, but she is being hunted by the evil witch.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it really works for me because it's a singular kind of story. It's not scattered all over the place with crazy twists or anything. It is a straightforward story about this girl being chased, them hunting down the dad, and what the heck happens to these people. And probably the 1 month we follow them through life,
Right.
It's
right.
I liked it. I gave it an 8. I liked it a lot. I thought it was very exciting to watch. It rolls right along. The fight scene with Eric Bana is really great. The one fight where the guys come at him,
Mm-hmm.
and really, really well done. So the director was really shooting for a lot of cool stuff, I thought. And, of course, I adore Kate Blanchett. I think she can do no wrong. She's beautiful. She's a wonderful actress. She can be scary. She can be charming. I loved her in Don't Look Up when she is the newscaster. She's just brilliant in that thing. And, brilliant in everything, really. But anyway, loved her, and I like this movie quite a bit. What else? Any other thoughts about it?
Well, I'd give it an 8 also. It's pretty good. I would recommend it for sure.
Any moments where you said, wait a minute? Besides setting up the thing to track my butt?
The transponder. I'm
the transponder.
Where did he even get the transponder in the first place? I mean, they just ran out the woods and started living out there, right?
Well, why do you need a transponder to call the enemy? Is that ever a thing?
All I know is if I wrote this story, you would have jumped on that and said no. You'd have said no. Stop it.
It's true. It's true. I know you've gotten to see a few more episodes of Pam and Tommy. What do you think? What's the update on that?
Yes, I have watched all the current episodes now, 7 episodes, and I love the show. It's so good. And it's just so surprising. It's like you kind of think, well, I know the story of these guys, these people, but no, you don't. You don't really. And I'm just starting to get to the parts that you were talking about earlier about where Tommy's not really such a bad guy. He's truly in love with Pam, and she's just so normal. She's not a big movie star person at all. They make her look like, and they even went back and showed her starting out. I love that, where her mom took her to the Playboy Mansion, and they're all looking at everything. What's going on here? It's so fun.
Doesn't that really explain so much about who she was?
Yeah.
I had such empathy for her because you think she's this glitzy chick with fake boobs and blonde hair and just running around Hollywood, but she's not. She was, like I said in the last episode, she's basically a cashier who's just really beautiful, got swept up in being a model. Playboy paid probably $2,500 at most for her pictures. She was never rich. She got onto Baywatch through luck and being pretty. I don't think they treated her with much respect and kindness, and they show that in the show.
Right.
And so being treated like a bimbo is kind of a pain in the ass. And I don't think she had much respect for her quote-unquote acting ability. And then we see her trying to launch her serious career, and right in the middle of trying to launch Barbed Wire, the movie, the whole thing is sabotaged by these assholes with the sex tape.
Right.
And I was shocked. It was something.
I was shocked that Penthouse would be able to print photos of someone that doesn't want to be in the magazine. That just blew me away that they supposedly won the right to go ahead and publish those images, stills from the video.
it was a First Amendment issue because the story had entered the public domain and people had a right to see. That's bullshit. That's nonsense. Yeah, and however, go on.
Well, especially because the tape was stolen in the first place.
Exactly. Wasn't Bob Guccione the casting perfect on him? That was crazy. The guy
right.
that got to play him with the open shirt and all the necklaces just like he wore. So funny. Gosh.
I love how Pam was smarter than all the lawyers and Tommy. And she said, we don't sue them because then it'll get in the papers and everybody will want those tapes. And it'll be worldwide, you know. And then they go, no, you're wrong. We're going to sue. We're going to stop this thing from the Guccione and Penthouse. And then sure enough, it just went bombastic when it got in the newspaper.
Nobody would listen to her. I have such empathy for her. She was the smart one. You're so right. You know, there's a show in there, I think it's maybe 6, where she has to go through that deposition where they humiliate her, you know?
Yes.
And I was thinking, because I've had a wonderful life. I am the kind of person who I have been dragged in depositions where they tried to monkey around with me.
Uh-huh.
And I've basically almost been thrown into jail for how I acted. Because I told them in no uncertain terms, you know, where they could take the little questions. And you're not allowed to do that, as it turns out. I would have been better served just by being quiet, of course. But I'm not the kind of person to take that. And that's why I think it was so important to show Pam's backstory, to see why she was the kind of person who people could take advantage of. You know what I mean? Where she wasn't able to stand up for herself because she hadn't been trained to stand up for herself. You know,
yes.
Men are trained to say no a lot, and women are not trained to say no. And a lot of people have trouble saying no, frankly, you know, to anything.
Right.
So I loved that.
Was that lady her lawyer? I think she was. The one, she kept talking to her, and it sometimes it sounded like she was her psychiatrist.
No, that's her publicist / the lady who's trying to get her to be famous and get her into the magazines and get her movie launched and stuff.
Right.
I think that's like her agent or something. Yeah, and the whole thing falls apart because of the porn tape.
Right.
So, yeah, it was just, I know, the show completely takes you by surprise over and over, doesn't it? Isn't it interesting how it does that?
And I love the Seth Rogen story plot. He is going through hell, and now they know it's him, and they're after him. Oh, that's a whole story right there.
He must be among the stupidest people who've ever lived. He does everything wrong. It's like if you said to yourself, I'm going to do it the ass backwards way that gets me in the most hot water. That's what this guy does. How about when Tommy burns the money right in front of him because Tommy doesn't think that's very much money?
I love it.
Yeah, it was mind-blowing. He's mocking the guy. He's like, you know, I'm just going to kick your ass, but obviously I can't because of the fence, you know?
Yeah.
I'm surprised Tommy didn't climb over the fence and kick his ass. I really am.
Yeah.
I thought that was coming.
I kind of thought that Tommy had plotted it out and had some of his friends going to pull up behind the guy, you know, on the other side of the fence.
Oh, yeah, that is exactly what should have happened. But, you know, the story is the story, but the story as it stands is awesome. It's crazy.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
I just read that Pam Anderson is doing some kind of Netflix show about this, where she's going to tell her side of the story. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, no. Really?
Yeah, but it lives on. The story lives on. Yeah.
Good grief. Everybody will watch it.
Everybody will watch it, including me. I want to bring up one more thing that really killed me this week, because you guys know that I've been watching that show, Inventing Anna, and I'm absolutely blown away by the crazy, evil narcissist that she is. And I'm blown away by that crazy accent she has. And And it's so funny. The show is a little tedious in places, I'll be honest, folks. I don't know if I can recommend it, except for hardcore weirdos like me. But what's funny about it is Saturday Night Live this past weekend did a 4-minute skit called Inventing Chloe, where the lady on the show who works there invents the persona of Anna Del Rey and starts treating everyone like she treated people.
Uh-huh. And
they literally boiled down the whole miniseries into 4 minutes.
I loved it.
I loved it. It's so funny. Did you get to see it?
Yes, it was hilarious. It was like those glasses had the power, It looked like.
Yes. When she throws the card at the guy and says, "Put it on my card," and he says, "This is a Metro card." And she's like, "That's your sandwich that's my sandwich in your mouth."
And when she said, "You stop with that German or Russian or whatever you've got there."
She had your German Russian accent. Oh, that was great. I could watch hours and hours of that. That was funnier than hell, man. But if for those who want to skip watching the 8-hour television show and just watch that Saturday Night Live skit, you will be well rewarded because you've seen the whole show.
Right.
Yeah, really good stuff. I'd like to thank everybody for stopping in today and joining us in the Alan and Dan Review Stuff show. As always, it's a pleasure to have you folks join us. And Alan, thank you personally. It's great to have you, and I hope you have a great rest of the day.